Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody who's joined today. I am sitting in the Open Athens Towers, so we're based in Bristol. I've got colleagues in Manchester, and we're joined today by over people from countries, over 45 countries globally. So we're really excited. We've got so many people registering and listening today. Just a little bit of housekeeping for everybody. So if you move to the next slide, there will be recordings of these sessions. So just let you know they're being recorded and they will be available afterwards. There is a Q&A box. So do encourage people to put any questions that they might have in that box. And then there's a chat box as well. So as ideas pop into your head or if there's anything you'd like to share, please do use that chat function. Yes, we'll move on. I'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors, Technology from Sage. If you have a chance, they've done some really interesting research over the last 12 months or so. I've been at least one conference when I saw a presentation that they did about skills and librarians. It's just a really interesting insight into the state of play today. And I guess that's one of the things that we want to talk to you in terms of that state of play. So massive thank you to Technology from Sage. If you move to the next slide, also thank you to everybody who's involved in putting this program together. There's names there. This is a team effort. It's a group effort. It involves people from around the world again. So thanks to everybody who's involved in putting this program together. If you want to get involved next year, please do email us at events@openathens.net. Just get involved. That's what we're really interested for next year. Next slide, please. So I just want to start very quickly by positioning Open Athens in the context of our parent organisation. Open Athens works with colleagues in JISC. And very simply, JISC exists because we believe that education can change lives, but we also believe that technology can change education. And that's the goal, and that brings us together every day. If I go to the next slide, I will talk about Open Athens particularly. So Open Athens as a software as a service, we work with libraries, we work with publishers, and our role is bringing those libraries and publishers together. That's the purpose. Well, one of the purposes of these sessions today is to create a space where librarians, publishers can talk about that fabric of trust that enables us to work together. If you go to the next slide, sectors we work in are broad. We're not only global, but we work in education, medical, government, science and technology, and arts and humanities. And the next slide, please. And I just take this opportunity now, the next slide, to talk about the fact that we are a global community. So we move to the next slide. This is just an example about some of the chat points that people across the Open Athens community has. There's a listserv where people come together. And what I love is I will go to finish the day's work, and I'll have one of these questions mulling over my head. And when I wake up the next day, they've been answered by somebody in the Open Athens community overnight, because just come back to that global point. But what we're here today is we're here today to look forward. That's the purpose. So if we go to the next slide, that allows me to introduce Dr. Luba Pagova-Morgan, who is going to share with us some findings from a report around AI and the library community, friends or enemies. Luba, I'll pass over to you now.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for inviting me and for allowing me to speak here. So welcome, dear audience, to the discussion of AI in libraries, best buds or frenemies extraordinaire. The epic saga to decipher friend from enemy is still unfolding in the hallowed halls of libraries, where AI is either the coolest sidekick libraries have ever had or the arch nemesis stirring up some serious trouble. So just to briefly introduce myself, my name is Dr. Luba Pagova-Morgan, and I'm currently based at the University of Leeds. I specialize in the studies of images and perceptions and how those may in turn impact behavior and other practices as related to people and places. Next slide, please. This presentation delves into the fascinating realm of the AI's potential in libraries, drawing insights from the report looking towards a brighter future. The report was completed in 2023 at the University of Leeds with the aim to explore how AI can enrich libraries, examining current research, theories, and practices to offer tailored recommendations, especially for the future of the University of Leeds Library, but also more generally and broadly applicable. On the next slide, you will see the presentation structure will cover a brief summary of the report. and highlight some of the key findings before exploring some of the recommendations using the hero-villain and friend-foe narrative lenses. Next slide, please. The University of Leeds just revealed its exciting plan for the future of its libraries, and they're calling it Knowledge for All. This roadmap, which spans until 2030, is about making the library experience better with a big focus on digital transformations. One standout initiative is the Artificial Intelligence in the Library project, which I'm here to share with you. On the next slide, in simple terms, we wanted to know more about how, when, and where AI can be used in the University of Leeds library world. AI isn't just about cool tech. It's a way to spark new ideas and make practical improvements in libraries. The report further talks about how AI can bring together theoretical research and real-life applications, making our library experience even more awesome, as well as some of the cautionary tales that involves. The methods used to underpin the research of the report included desk-based research, a survey with library users, as well as expert interviews. These were used to paint a nuanced picture of the multitude of ways to bring AI into the library scene. And it's not just about the tech, it's about creating a library that fits perfectly with the needs of the students and the readers. Next slide, please. So in this presentation, I will be using the report data to explore two questions about the relationship between AI and libraries. AI in the library space, is it actually a hero, a villain? What's its actual role there? As well as AI in libraries, could they be friends or are they actually enemies? So the first question, AI in the library space, a hero or a villain? To answer that, I will begin with a short summary of the first 4 report chapters as they're best posed to showcase what is AI, what are library spaces, and what are the images of both. Next slide, please. Chapter 1 focuses on understanding AI in the library space and provides a comprehensive exploration of the history and applications of AI, from its origins with pioneers like Turing to the present. AI is described as a multifaceted concept extending human intelligence. Despite, however, its long history, AI has limitations in replicating human intuitions and understanding transient behavior. So this encompasses various technologies, expert systems, natural language processing. Next slide, please. The chapter emphasizes AI's theoretical and practical applications in libraries, including reference services, cataloging, and search optimization. An example is the theory of the library cube that you can see here, that has also been put in practice in part at university library settings already. Next slide, chapter 2. Images of libraries and images of AI focus on the expert interview perspective. As you can see on the next slide, this chapter delves into expert perceptions of libraries and AI technologies. It highlights the evolving roles of libraries as hybrid spaces that balance the physical and digital resources. Libraries are valued as sanctuaries, offering organized knowledge and user-centered services. AI is discussed as a tool for mimicking human intelligence, and varying perspectives on AI amongst experts and non-experts leads to quite a multitude of diverse definitions. Effective communication about AI is identified as crucial for its successful implementation in libraries. Next, please. Chapter 3 is about the University of Leeds Libraries' perspective on technology use in the library spaces. And as you can see on the next slide, this chapter presents insights from anonymous staff members at the University of Leeds regarding their views on library spaces and AI technology. The library is described as a multifaceted institution involving from physical to digitally driven spaces. But there are also many challenges faced by the libraries, including diverse user expectations and financial constraints. AI is seen as a solution to address some of these challenges by enhancing resource management and, for example, personalizing services. The University of Leeds libraries are already exploring AI applications in various projects in the areas of digital learning, digital humanities, and research workflows. Next slide, please. The 4th chapter actually is the University of Leeds user perspective, is data from surveys and interviews. And as you can see on the next slide, the chapter provides this data as conducted amongst University of Leeds students and staff. In those, the library is valued for its role in higher education and research, with both students and staff perceiving it again as both a physical and virtual space. Long gone are the images of the book stacks alone. The chapter discusses areas for improvement, including partnership working and supporting users. Respondents generally support technology in the libraries for information processing and staying technologically relevant. But there is some hesitation in areas like operational efficacy and addressing skill gaps. The importance of librarian skill sets, environmental initiatives, as well as ethical implications in implementation are also explored. Users express concerns about privacy, data protection, and potential exclusions. That's why the University of Leeds Libraries aims to embrace digital transformations while carefully considering the ethical implications and user understanding of the technology. Next slide, please. So back to our first question, AI in the library space, a hero or a villain? In summary, after these 4 chapters of the report, well, as you can guess, it's complicated. Our complicated AI character is neither the hero nor the villain, it seems. AI is just a tool, a not yet as developed as we would like tool. On the one hand, the research shows that AI can be a library superhero, swooping in to make tasks like finding books or recommending resources super efficient. It's like having a digital assistant that understands your preferences and helps create a more personalized library experience. On the other hand, AI has its quirks too. Sometimes it can be a little bit too nosy, raising concerns about things like privacy and fairness. Imagine it as that well-meaning friend who sometimes overstep their boundaries just a tad too much. So while AI brings a lot of cool features to the library party, we need to keep an eye on how it behaves to make sure it's a friendly helper and not a troublemaker. But how it behaves is in the hands of the programmers and users. So keeping in mind that AI is not yet an actual intellect, but a low-grade and sometimes broken mirror of those who engage with it. The more we know its limitations and how to engage, interpret, and verify, the more the mirror clears up. Thus, AI in the library spaces is about balancing the benefits of AI with being mindful of the potential pitfalls in order to ensure that the library journey stays both smart and friendly. Next slide, please. So then we come to our second question about the AI relationship to the library entity. Is it one of friendship or is it one of adversity? This is where the list of recommendations in the report comes in handy. These recommendations are based on things that AI could improve, as well as things that AI must be carefully considered for because of its many limitations. Next slide, please. As friends, AI and libraries can indeed be great friends, ushering a new era of efficiency, accessibility, and personalized experiences. The technologies can be seen as the librarian's ultimate wingman. AI tools can be used to streamline library operations, automating mundane tasks, and leaving librarians with more time to focus on more complex and intellectually stimulating aspects of their roles. Moreover, AI tools can enhance user experiences by offering the personalized recommendations based on preferences and past interactions. This personalization not only makes the library more user-friendly, but also helps discover resources that they might not have encountered otherwise. Additionally, AI can help optimize library spaces, making them more adaptive to user needs and preferences. For example, in terms of accessibility, AI-powered tools facilitate services for patrons with disabilities. For instance, text-to-speech applications can aid visually impaired in accessing written content, and language processing algorithms can assist those with language-related challenges. As enemies, yet every hero's journey has its dark side. In the AI library saga, the villains are bias, privacy concern, and the resistance to the human element. Concerns arise when the deployment of AI in libraries is not handled responsibly. One potential challenge is the risk of bias in AI algorithms, which could perpetuate existing inequalities or even exclude certain groups of library users. For example, if an AI system is trained on biased data, it may inadvertently discriminate against specific demographics. Privacy issues also come to the forefront. AI involves processing of large amounts of data, raising concerns on how user information is handled, whether it's adequately protected. If not managed carefully, AI applications could infringe on patron privacy, leading to a strained relationship between the library and their users. Moreover, there might be a resistance or skepticism from library staff who fear that the integration of AI could compromise the core values of a library. This potential tension between human and artificial intelligence needs to be addressed through careful planning, communication, and clear delineation of the responsibilities for a balance to be struck between the tech and the charm of human interaction. Next slide. But the key thing is about the ability to continue the debate about the role of AI in library spaces. Or to paraphrase an expert view on this, everyone has an idea about what computers are and what AI is, so every citizen can be engaged in the debate about them. On the next slide, that is why delving into practical strategies, there is a great importance for librarians to master AI skills and language for communication to adeptly navigate this evolving landscape. Librarians, as the gatekeepers of knowledge and the fairy godmother in this story, play pivotal roles from sourcing AI tools to enhancing accessibility and personalization of library services. It is within their power and the library power to create a curriculum that embraces a balanced approach to AI tool use, as well as to integrate some of these tools within the library spaces, thus further developing this fusion between the physical and digital resources already brought upon libraries by the digital age. Next slide. So in this grand tale, I would argue that the question of whether AI is a library's friend or enemy hinges on people more than the technology. It is about establishing ground rules, about navigating the pitfalls with wisdom and a bit of humor, and ensuring that in the grand library of life, AI remains the quirky character that adds a twist to the plot without causing a drama. So on the final slide, as we turn the pages of this saga, let's embark on the quest for the perfect balance, where libraries and AI coexist harmoniously, creating a narrative that's both entertaining and enriching. And what better place to write this saga and explore the path ahead than in a library? A place of stories, of knowledge, of learning, a place of fairy tales coming to life. If you flip to the last one, I'd just like to say thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions and comments.
Thank you, Luba. That is the wheels in my mind are sort of racing as I'm kind of looking at some of the questions and thinking of questions to ask. I've read somewhere that sort of AI, I'm going to start with questions, but please also welcome even more questions through the Q&A panel. One question I've read somewhere that AI begins with humans and it ends with humans, and there's a lot of processing in between. In an institutional perspective, where do you think ultimate accountability, you talk about ethics, you talk about strategy, where's the accountability for that in an institution?
Well, part of it, I think, is having it formalized as part of the community and as part of the curriculum. For example, in a university setting, to actually have it in the courses, not just in computing courses, but across the different disciplines, to actually study about these tools. Because realistically, students nowadays are using ChatGPT to try to help them write essays. So it's no longer something that is just to a specific course. This goes beyond, and it's quite far-reaching. So when it comes to institutions, having it formalized as part of the curriculum to learn about these tools, about their downsides, about how to use them correctly, means essentially learning how to use a tool, much in the way we use to learn how to type on a keyboard or to use a typewriter before that. Libraries, for me, are one of the possible torchbearers in this case, because as the gatekeepers of knowledge, if they develop programs and courses, which many libraries already do, they have extra support systems in place for students, this could also be something that libraries can essentially pioneer on and take a hold of.
Thank you for that. I mean, so for example, it could be does Leeds University have a policy, for example, on the use of AI?
Actually, at the moment, that is very much in debate. This what makes this topic quite current. They are trying to figure out where and how to introduce it at the University of Leeds, both in the library, but also as part of the educational system. So there's a lot of consultations with staff and students. There's a lot of debates, formal and informal. They're trying to gather as many voices as possible and drawing up the pathways forward. And I think that's true for many research institutions, actually globally.
And do you think in that instance, in terms of if you were to have a policy, do you think what would be more powerful in making sure people adopt it? Do you think it's the cultural, behavioral aspect, or do you think having it written down and having it policed to make sure people follow it? Ultimately, which do you think would be more powerful?
Well, this is a tough question because the truth is, when you go to university, you do learn during your course, but you also learn quite a lot of things out of it, from friends, from colleagues. You also learn by simply going to the library and picking up a book that looked interesting to you. So I think part of it is that if we are able to explore how to communicate what AI is, how to approach it, how to be wary of it, how to also use it for good, then it's up to the individual students to then see to what extent and how they can engage with it, as well as the teachers.
So I have a question from the audience, which is AI will process a lot of, or it could process a lot of personal information. You mentioned some of the uses in your presentation, but how can we make sure that we don't overshare data, or any data that we used is used responsibly and legally?
Well, one of the problems in answering that really is that it depends on the institution that's using it. I spoke to some of our colleagues who are experts actually in the field of AIinLibraries from the US, and they have very different, for example, perspectives on user data, because they already gather, for example, all of the logins of students and their search preferences when they go in the library space. So for them then to use that data to be able to personalize the library services is not really that difficult. It doesn't actually require extra policies. It doesn't require extra really safeguarding procedures apart from the ones that are already in place. In places like UK institutions, however, that might not be the case, because we don't generally connect as much to the login and we don't keep that data to the extent that they do in the US. So it would require actually developing new pathways to see how we could store that data to make sure that it is securely stored without leakages and that it is not exploited or used inappropriately, and that it safeguards the anonymity of the people who are actually logging in. One of the ways that was suggested by one of the experts was to link it to student numbers, because those tend not to be known apart from to the student and the faculty in their communications. But that as well has its own issues, because that's not always the case. It really depends on a institution by institution. So part of it is actually to have that discussion within your individual institutions to see what you already have in place and what you need to develop in terms of security measures in order to see how you can process such sensitive data.
So one final, thank you for that answer, Lee, but I mean, it's complex, isn't it? There's one final question, which is, with regards to your experience at Leeds, is there a space within the Leeds community where AI is being used currently?
Oh, yes, very much so, especially in the library space. There are quite a lot of projects, and I've listed some of them in the report that you can actually have a look at, that show you in which areas we're using them, things that are already in place, things that are essentially in the planning stages but are firmly going ahead, as well as some ideas that they want to move ahead with in the near future. And for example, one of my favorite projects is about the digitization of ancient texts. They're using AI tools to actually upload images of ancient texts and pull apart the text from the white spaces so that they can better digitize the text and not have to do it by hand as it was done in the past. So this is one of the projects that I quite enjoyed looking to see texts that I wouldn't otherwise even be able to decipher myself, seeing an AI tool actually being able to read the complicated letters and writing. So
that's brilliant. Thank you, Libra. Our time, unfortunately, I think is up. There's lots of people have asked questions about whether they can access and get hold of the original research. So we put some information, but we'll double check that with
Yeah.
you, but really just
So
to
my
say,
email is on the slide.
yes,
Feel
it
free
is.
to contact me in person, as well as also if you download the report, my email is also there, as well as Masoud Kokhars, who's the leader of our university libraries. He's the head of the Brotherton collections. So
I mean, I
either
think
one
if
of
there
us
was a
can answer
big,
your questions.
yeah, no, it does, Lee. If there was a big room of people, we'd all be applauding and saying thank you. That was, you know, very illuminating. It's a great way to kick off the session. So just thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.